In today's show, we're looking back at the action on Tuesday in the NBA, including a potentially serious injury to Jaylen Brown in Boston. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I am the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com and at Yahoo Sports Australia. And you can find me on Twitter, as always, at redrock_bball and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free. We are available on all platforms. Shorter show today. I'm not going to be recapping the Dallas and the Lakers game because I have to leave early to go and coach my son's footy team. So therefore, we won't have lines of the night because the last game won't be finished. Just a short, sharp show on the 5 games that we're on. But, there's plenty of other content that we have through the show. Multiple shows every day. We'll be back tomorrow with another waiver wire show as well. So apologies, just won't be recapping the final game of the day. Not much in terms of news in regard to injuries or anything. We did the whole injury show earlier today. All the Thunder guys are out again, Dort and Giddey and Kenrich Williams and those sort of players. We're not going to harp too much on that. But what we are going to go into is straight just talking about the top ads and the top drops over the last 24 hours. Warnie?
Let's get it on, Gilly.
All right, number one ad over the last 24 hours. That didn't work out too well today, and that is the big sneeze. Precious Achiuwa. Now, it was worth a stream because there was 4 more games left for the Raptors, but as I've constantly said, he is not very good. And the reason that he thrived in that game on Monday was the fact that Anunoby and Van Vliet were both out. They were both out again today, and he did nothing. And there are so many centers on this team that it's just going to be a slog. There's 3 more games left for the Raptors this week. I don't think he's a must-roster player. I've said that continually. Kelly Olynyk was added, and I'm hoping that's just to stream today. Like, he was all right with Bagley up, but I don't think he's a 12-team league guy. Dinwiddie up 16%. Solid enough move, but again, I'm not confident in it. Okongwu, well, that didn't work out particularly well either today. Again, I hope that was just for a stream today. I don't think there's long-term 12-team league value this season. He was up 14%. Lonnie Walker up 13%. I disagree with that a lot. Gary Payton up 12%. Sorry. Yeah, if you need steals and streaming him in today, no problem at all. Michael Porter Jr. up 11%. As I detailed on the injury show earlier today, I just don't think it's a wise move for head-to-head leagues. I wouldn't be doing it. Bruce Brown up 9%. Yep, for now, stream him in. It's not going to last long. Trey Mann up 9%. He's going to be hit or miss. He's going to be a fringe guy, but no problem for him for tomorrow with all those guys still out, of course. And Carmelo Anthony up 7%, which is, I think, a fairly strong move given the absences for the Lakers. He can be a top 100 player, maybe even for the rest of the season. The top drops over the last 24 hours. Malik Monk down 16%. Well, that was probably the right move. And now, of course, Malik Monk is starting. The Lakers actually using a starting lineup that makes sense. No Trevor Ariza, no Dwight Howard in that lineup. We'll see what Monk does today, but he could easily become an ad. Duarte down 15%. Absolutely behind that. Plumlee down 12%, of course. Kleber down 11%. No worries with that. Baisley down 8%. Sure. Brandon Clark down 7%. I wouldn't have dropped Clark, but it didn't play well yesterday. Mills down 7%. Easy drop. Cam Thomas down 7%. Pretty easy drop as well. Hamadou Diallo down 7%. Not a 12-team league player. And Duncan Robinson down 6%. Finally, people are starting to come around to the fact that you actually don't need to roster Duncan Robinson in a 12-team league, and they are starting to drop him, which is exactly what they should be doing. Let's look at the first game. It is the Detroit Pistons and the Washington Wizards. Cool. Interesting game. Dwayne Casey threw this game, so that's fine. They win 116, 113. Casey had the bench in, and the Wizards went on an 18-0 run. Didn't think to arrest that before it got to 18-0. And then when the starters came back in, they closed the gap. So that's fine. They get the loss that they need. Jeremy Grant's last 2 games have been much better. Still makes some baffling decisions, but 26, 3 and 4, 53% shooting, 5 of 5 from the line is great. The depressed penis had 32 fantasy points. He had 19 and 7 in real life with 2 threes. Good numbers there. And the Sly Hog, Cade Cunningham.
My name is Richie Cunningham.
Richie had 20 and 9 with 5 assists. Didn't hit a 3, but we talked about him on the Buy Low show saying the shooting numbers have to come up at some point. And they did here, and he stayed out of foul trouble, which is great. was also good to get 27 Killian Hayes minutes. He is never going to be a usage player. He is never going to be a good scorer. But 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, and 1 block. That's the skeleton of a very good fantasy line. In a punt point situation, there's enough there. 33 fantasy points as well. I'm not saying he's an ad, because he isn't. But he's not an ad. Does that make sense? Like, I'm not like going, man, Killian Hayes, where can I find him? Can I get him? How do I get him on my team? What do I do? I'm going, all right, I might need some assists and steals. Killian's an option for me. If only they would commit to playing him 30 a night instead of whatever dribble we get out of Corey Joseph. But there's enough happening here with Killian Hayes to get marginal value. Olynyk had 10 in 21 minutes with Bagley out, while it was not a good night for the Flamin' Galah.
Is that you, Mr. Stewart?
Well, who the hell else do you think it'd be? Get in here, you pair of flaming galahs.
Isaiah Stewart, I think he started 0 of 7 or 0 of 6. He ended up with 9 points on 9 shots with 9 boards, a steal, and a block. But that's a solid recovery to end up with 9 and 9. Frank Jackson returned, played 14. Diallo had 6 points in 19 minutes. Diallo's not a 12-team league guy. Frank Jackson's not a 12-team league guy. And Corey Joseph, of course, who had 9 points in 16 minutes, is not a 12 or a 14-team league player. I don't think, at this point. For the Wizards, it was the future MVP again, who honestly is going to win an MVP this year. Wizards team MVP. He's been great, especially over the last 2 months. 21, 9, and 6 with 2 blocks. A great game. And then the mess started, didn't it? We talked about the point guard mess. Today it was Ish. 23 minutes, 11, 4, and 8. The 8 assists are great. I don't really trust it, but there's stream value. Well, Hal Neto, who's been top 100 over the last 2 weeks, played 24 minutes and had 13, 4, and 3, which is okay, but not great. It's just going to... I think Neto's the guy you want over Smith in general, but there's going to be a lot of back and forward. KCP had 15 points with 3 threes. He's top 100 over the last 2 weeks. In fact, he's top 60. So there's probably 12-team value there, while Kispert had 11 points and 3 threes. Also added 5 assists, which I don't trust. And Avdia got hurt, played just 9 minutes, so we worry a little bit about that. Gafford had 12 points. I think all of them were in the second quarter, pretty much. And then he barely played in the second half. He ended up with 12 and 4 with 3 blocks, which is pretty good. 83% shooting's good, but only 20 minutes despite him playing well. The frustrations continue. Tom Bryant, the tank. 22 minutes for Tommy. And a really good game. 16 and 6, but I don't believe that he's a 12-team league guy. I would have Gafford over Bryant, but I understand that it's a very tenuous hold on a 12-team roster spot, and Porzingis can screw all of this up. Shout out to Rui Hachimura, who's been a 50% three-point shooter this year. Unfortunately, he shot 17% from 2 in this game and ended with 11 points, 1 rebound, 0 assists, 0 steals, 0 blocks. That's not a shout out to Tony Snell. That's a shout out to Jordan Clarkson. Hachimura is not obviously a 12 or 14 or probably a 16-team league guy. Satoransky made his Wizards re-debut. 14 minutes, 4 points, 2 steals. He's not going to have an impact in 12 or 14 or 16-team leagues, I guess would be my my expectation on where his value lies for the rest of this season. But I know where value lies at PrizePicks. It's very straightforward. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. We've got a great offer for you with PrizePicks coming up really soon. If you don't know what PrizePicks is, it's super easy. You just pick 2 to 5 players and you choose individual player performance props. Points, go over under. Rebounds, over under. Assists, whatever it is. Steals, blocks, threes. Just pick over under, get 2 to 5 players, put them into one lineup, and you can win up to 10 times your entry fee. Entries take just 60 seconds to put through, whether that's on the website, prizepicks.com, or on the award-winning app. And you can even do mixed sport entries. It's not just the NBA, it's college basketball, college football, and NFL when that's rolling, Major League Baseball if they ever decide to play again, and all other sports. So for a limited time, PrizePicks has an exclusive no-brainer of an offer for all of our users. Users get $50 for free if a player in your first PrizePicks entry scores a single point, but you must use the code NBA. That's right. It's an exclusive offer for Locked On fans. Sign up today. Use our code NBA and get $50 for free if a player in your first PrizePicks entry scores a single point. Second game of the day, it's the Hawks. They no, they didn't. They lost to the Celtics. Just a weird game. It was so low scoring. There was multiple ankle injuries, like there was in another game. The Celtics just dominated the Hawks in the second half. I think they kept the Hawks to about 40 points for a half. It was just very weird. 107-98, the final score. Bogdanovic played 37 minutes. He had 25 points, and the absolute red-hot shooting continues. He hit all of his twos, 63% overall. He is going to drop off with his shooting. So there's a little bit of a sell high there. Trae Young hurt his ankle, but Trae Young has the most mystical healing ankles I've ever seen. He missed about 5 minutes and came back in. He ended with 31 points and 6 assists. In the past, he's had ankle injuries, which are going to be 4 weeks, and then 10 days later, there he is. Vanderpants had 2 steals and 2 blocks. That's good. Kevin Huerter, 9 points in 31 minutes. It's very hard to look at him as a must-roster 12, and DeAndre Hunter absolutely is not. I don't think I've jacked him off very many times, but here we go.
Get that garbage out of here!
He missed all 8 of his shots. He had 4 points with 2 steals. He is not even a top 240 player this season, DeAndre Hunter. And actually not even a top 250 player. His fantasy value just thrives off the fact that he had like a 15-game stretch at the start of his second season where he put up some really good numbers, and he's done nothing else since then. Capella, 30 minutes, 11 rebounds. I'm not sure he's ever going to get back to what he was. His minutes should stay up because Okongwu is being assessed for a concussion, so a potential concussion there. Yes, you can drop Okongwu. He played 7 minutes, and Gorgie Jeng played 7 as well. So there's a chance for more minutes for Capella. I don't think Johnny Collins is all that close to returning. I know he keeps getting listed as doubtful without being ruled out immediately, but I'm just not... What they're saying is he's not full running at the moment, which makes me think he's probably a couple more games away. So you can still hold Gallinari. He's not playing well. 12 and 8's not great, but it's okay. It's okay to be a 12-team streamer with those numbers. For the Celtics, Jaylen Brown got hurt really early, first 3 minutes. It didn't look really good at all. The ankle sort of rolled inwards, but it didn't just roll inwards. It sort of rolled backwards as well. It looked like, I know it's an ankle sprain, but I wouldn't be shocked, much like Anthony Davis's ankle sprain, where it turned into a foot sprain. I'm not saying that's what it is. I can't diagnose that. But it just rolled on a really weird angle. You would have to assume that Jaylen Brown is missing some time. How much time, I don't know. Let's just optimistically rule him out for the rest of this week. That's probably the limit. I wouldn't be stunned if March is done for him. Now, you don't drop him, of course. We want to see what happens. But it didn't look great. What this means is we're waiting to see what happens with Maximum Derek White.
Maximum Derek.
After he'd played 22, 20, and 20 minutes in the last 3 games. Well, Brown's injury is going to stabilize his value. 28 minutes for White, 18, 2, and 5. So, if you dropped him, go and re-add him. And this gives you a chance to hold. I would have expected a little bit more out of Peyton Pritchard. He had 3 points in 19 minutes. He's only a deeper league guy. While they started Aaron Nesmith in place of Brown in the second half, he missed all 5 of his shots for 0 points. He had 6 rebounds, but it's only like an 18-team league situation. Marcus Smart stepped up 16, 6, and 4, as did Jayson Tatum, who had 33, 8, and 7. Tatum has been, for all the criticisms of him, and there were criticisms early, he's the 20th ranked player, so it's not too far off where you would have drafted him. It is still off, for sure, but it's not too far off where you would have drafted him. Now, I'm just getting an update here on Jaylen Brown. Imi Udoka says Jaylen Brown has some swelling and soreness. Brown wanted to come back, but the Celtics chose to play it safe. Udoka said he hopes it's not a long-term situation, but you never know. Okay. What does that mean? Again, I think ruling him out the rest of this week is probably the way to go, and then we'll see where it goes from there. They'll get more information tomorrow. It just didn't look good, but if he wanted to come back out, that's fine. Klay Thompson wanted to come back out after a torn ACL. We know that that's not always an indicator, but let's hope that things are okay and it's not significantly serious here for Jaylen Brown. The Rock DJ Robbie Williams scored just 9 points, but 13 boards and 2 blocks. And Grant Williams, another big game from Grant. Grant's a top 100 player over the last 2 weeks. 18 and 7 in 28 minutes. He's probably more 14 than 12, but there's some 12 value there. Well, Horford only had 8 points. Shout out to my best bet of over 9.5. One more bucket, Al. But 4 blocks, 2 threes, 3 assists, some good numbers there. Continuing to play some really good basketball after a great start, a lean midsection, and now really firing up again at the business end of the season. So some good stuff there from Al Horford. The third game, in fact, was the Brooklyn Nets. They go down to the Raptors 109-108. The Nets are still without Durant and Irving and Simmons and Harris, but they were also without Andre Drummond in this game. So they started LaMarcus Aldridge. He played 30 minutes and had 16 and 9. If Drummond remains out, there's 12-team value there. But overall, I think the center position is going to be a mess. James Johnson, yes, we get to do it. He made us proud, Jim did. 19 points, 31 minutes, 3 assists, 3 threes. But him, Aldridge, Bruce Brown, who had 9 and 7 in 33 minutes. Like, if Durant's back next game, and Drummond's back, and then Simmons is back, and Kyrie's back one game after. Simmons won't be back this week, but when they will come back, these guys are going to do nothing. So they're very short-term guys. Cam Thomas had 11 points in 18 minutes. He's still being held in a ton of 12-team leagues.
Get that garbage out of here!
Same with Pat Mills.
Get that garbage out of here!
Who had 8 points in 32 minutes. And Goran Dragic, if you added him in 12 or 14-team leagues,
Get that garbage out of here!
10 points in 15 minutes. It's just not enough there for them, especially with those guys returning eventually. Claxton played 23. He had 3 blocks, which is nice. He was 100% from the field, but it's going to be a mess. It's going to be a big mess at center. Now, for the Raptors, the good news there on OG Anunoby is that he was questionable before this game. It doesn't appear like it's a significantly long injury. Maybe, look, he can play through it. They might keep him out a week to get him back, but you don't drop him. And Van Vliet, there's 3 more games this week. Let's see how he goes with the knee. I am a little bit worried. And while he is out, we stream in Malachi Flynn, who played 43 minutes. He had 15, 6, and 8. Of course, he's not going to have any value when Van Vliet plays, but this is the Flynn that I liked in the draft. This is the Flynn that we liked at the end of last season, but he's been losing minutes somehow to Delano Banton, which is nonsense, of course, but he has been. So for now, we just stream him in. Siakam's in a bit of a slump, 18, 8, and 6, probably a buy low there. Or Scotland Barnes had a second consecutive big game. 41 minutes for him, 18, 10, and 4. Gaz Trent didn't shoot well, 35%, but good volume. 24 points, 9 of 9 from the line, 7 assists. He had been in a slump. This is 43 fantasy points, so it's good to see him turn that back around. And then the center spot, 18 minutes for Birch for 11 points. 23 minutes for Thad Young for 11 points. 8 and 6 in 19 for Boucher. 4 and 7 in 18 for Achiuwa. Who's ready for a machine gun jack? Ken Birch.
Get that garbage out of here!
Thad Young.
Get that garbage out of here!
Chris Boucher.
Get that garbage out of here!
The Big Sneeze.
Get that garbage out of here!
They are all, over the last 2 weeks, Birch, Young, Boucher, and Achiuwa are all ranked outside the top 200. And yes, there is an opportunity here, but literally, Anunoby and Van Vliet could play next game. I don't think they are worth... There is 3 more games for the Raptors this week, but that's in the remaining 5 days of the week. So the schedule was great to have 5 games this week, but 2 of them are done. So it's not the greatest schedule. There are other teams that will have 3 games for the next 5 in the next 5 days. So if you wanted to move on from those guys, no problem. Birch, clear drop. Boucher, clear drop. Young and Achiuwa are the only ones, but again, Precious Achiuwa has played 23 minutes a night this season. He's ranked 282nd. Do you want to get excited about that? I'm going to say the answer to that should be, hopefully, absolutely not. But the answer should be to the question, do you want a Built Bar? The answer should be yes. Because why wouldn't you? Why would you ever turn down a delicious tasting Built Bar? Maybe it's a Built Bar Puff. Their protein-infused marshmallowy goodness that's covered in 100% real chocolate like all of their bars are. Built Bar is the best tasting protein bar ever. Instead of eating a protein bar which tastes like you're chewing on a shoe, why don't you grab one of these protein bars from Built that taste amazing? It's low in carbs, low in fat, low in sugar, but it's high in protein, 17 grams in a bar and 130 calories only. Delicious flavors right across the board. They're an absolute must-add, a must-roster. In fact, if Jack Armstrong ever got his hands on these, he'd probably have stopped saying that phrase. He just wouldn't say it because he'd be so overwhelmed by the deliciousness. So head to Built.com. Get yourself boxes of Built Bar, but use our code LOCK15. That will save you 15% off your order. Built Bar is built different. All right, let's go on to the next game. It is the Golden State Warriors and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Good win for the Wolves here, 129-114. Steph was really good. Inefficient, but really good. 34 points with 5 threes on 42%, but he did go 9 of 9 from the line, while Wiggins started out really well as he revenged his way to 12 points on 39% shooting. He did have 2 blocks with 7 rebounds and 4 assists, so some good peripherals. Still, he's struggling at the moment. Damo Lee chipped in with 27 minutes, 15 and 6. That's with Moses Moody and Klay Thompson both out. Moody had to leave this game early after getting whacked in the head. And Otto Porter was on a minutes limit. He had 6 steals still in 17 minutes, but he's hard to look at as anything more than a streamer. Kuminga's value is dipping a bit. 13 points. I think he still can have some 12-team value, but it's really just as a streamer. While Jordan Poole is starting to move into being a drop. In a 10-teamer, I would drop Poole. In a 12, he's on the border. 12 points in 27 minutes doesn't really cut it. 2, 7, and 5 for Looney, who has some appeal, but it's more just for the deeper formats. And then there's not a lot else to really talk about with this Warriors team. Missing Clay, missing Draymond. It was pretty rough. For the Wolves, some great stuff. Towns was amazing. 39-9 with 3 threes on 64%. That's fantastic. Malik Beasley chipped in with Goose Anthony Edwards out. 28 minutes, 20 points with 6 triples. I wouldn't rush to grab him without Edwards, but he might be at least a 14-team league guy. Russell's strong form continued. 22, 3, and 7, while the artist formerly known as Prince had 3 steals for 11 points in 21 minutes. Good numbers, but only deeper leagues. Beverly only played 22. Not his best night, but 10 points and 7 assists gets it done. While the Jaden McDaniels struggle fest, which has been most games since the break, yesterday not included, where he shot really well, but 8 points in 23 starting minutes, 1-3, I don't think it's really good enough to be a must-roster guy. But with Edwards out, and the story with Anthony Edwards is he's got this knee issue, and I talked about this on the injury show earlier today, saying that the fact that it was knee tendinopathy worried me a little bit. That was backed up by Chris Finch saying, well, we think there's going to have to manage it throughout the year with maybe some rest days. It is a worry. Now, should you trade Edwards away? It's going to depend on what you get back there, but I think you've got to consider it, and that's why maybe we hold McDaniels just for now. Vanderbilt Bar, look, at this point, rebound stream specialist. 8 boards with 2 points in 24 minutes. He looks injured. If you want to drop him, in fact, Jack Armstrong.
Get that garbage out of here!
Jordy McLaughlin played 29 minutes in the blowout. He had 3 steals on 17%, but he's had a couple of interesting games this year, but there's nothing really to write home about or nothing to get massively excited about in that line from Jordan McLaughlin. The last game that we're going to be covering today is the Clippers beating the Rockets 113-100. Zubats, only 25 minutes, but had 22 and 12. Really good stuff. Reggie Jackson, 17, 5 and 6. Marcus Morris went bananas in the third quarter, ended with 18 points and 4 threes, and Bob Covington did his thing. Only 22 minutes, which continues to frustrate, but 4 blocks. He's like a supercharged Matisse Thybulle at this stage and has some 12-team appeal. Terrence Mann, the minutes are all right, but 11, 7, and 5. Look, we still hold, but it is what he is, like a back-end sort of player. And Hartenstein played 22, which is great. 6 and 8, 2 steals and a block. That's also pretty good, but I wouldn't bother with him in 12s. Amir Coffey's a clear 12 drop, and Luke Kennard, who was playing well, the last 2 games have been disastrous. 4 points in 20 minutes. Again, he's a real, a confidence, momentum player. Hot streak, add him. Cold streak, drop him. Add him back later if you need to. Do not need to hold onto Luke Kennard when he's playing like this, and you don't need to hold on to Nick Batum.
Get that garbage out of here!
The only guys I've got semi-confidence in at the moment are Jackson and Zubats, and Mann is pushing in towards that. But he's not quite there, and Morris is a little bit behind. Now, Covington, the minutes are annoying. There's no one... it's just consistent frustration with all of these guys and their ups and downs in performances. I have low confidence in Coffey, real low confidence in Batum. Kennard's up and down. Hartenstein's up and down. Covington can be up and down. Morris the same. Just a lot of back and forwards with this team. For the Rockets, we got a little bit of crossover between Christian Wood and Alperen Şengün, mainly in the second half. And Şengün, he did his thing.
It's a delicate dance in just 17 steps.
22 minutes, 13 and 9, 2 steals and 2 blocks. That's great. 40% shooting, isn't? But those numbers are great. Again, I find it hard to look at him as a must-roster player because of the minutes restriction they're putting on him. Give me that every 22 minutes, and that's great. You can't trust that, of course. Wood had 17 and 8 with 3 blocks, sprained his ankle but returned. Watch out for that. Let's watch to see whether there's no ongoing ankle issue. While it's good to see Jalen Green with 20 points in 33, and I think he's a 12-teamer. It does appear that Kevin Porter is going to return tomorrow. Dennis Schroeder played 31 minutes, had 8 points with 6 assists, copped a whack in the face and sprained his ankle. Stayed through both of them. I honestly just hope they're not going to play him 27 minutes with Porter back. Hold him for now, but even in these games, his last 5, he's played 30 minutes. He's ranked outside the top 125. That's not very good, is it? The wild thing, the numbers are good for Jayson Tatum.
Even the wild thing's gone well. I can't do much about that.
But he got into foul trouble and played under 20 minutes. 12 and 9 with 2 threes. He probably is a 12-teamer. Eric Gordon isn't. He had 9 points in 26 and he'll sit tomorrow. While Gary Bird had 8 points with 2 threes in 26 minutes. And he is only a deeper league option or a stream option for points and threes. That's about it. But the interesting thing there is the Şengün and the Wood crossover minutes. I don't know that it's going to happen that often, but that was very encouraging. I wouldn't recommend pouncing on Şengün, but I can see some of you doing it. Again, that's it. We're not going to cover that last game. We're not going to do nightly awards because the games aren't finished. Just a quick show. Just the 5 games. Drop your comments down below if you're watching on YouTube. Apologies again for not doing the full show here, just got some other things to attend to. Let me know what you think of what happened today in those comments and follow along. Subscribe, notification bell, do that thing wherever you're listening or watching the show. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.